Captain Jake Morrison stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't care. The screens around him showed something that made his blood run cold. 12 massive ships moved through. Space toward Earth. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. How long until they reach us? Jake asked his communications officer, Lieutenant Amy Brooks. 18 hours, sir, Amy replied. Her voice shook a little. They're not slowing down. Jake looked at the alien ships on the main screen. Each one was the size of a small city. Their dark metal hulls reflected no light. Strange symbols covered their surfaces. These were not friendly visitors. The first message from the aliens came at 0800 hours. Jake watched as the face of the enemy commander appeared on screen. The creature was 7 feet tall, with green scales covering its body. Sharp teeth filled its mouth. Yellow eyes stared at Jake with cold hatred. I am Commander Zethkar of the Draconian Empire, the alien said. Its voice was deep and rough. You will surrender your planet now. You have one choice. Become our slaves or die. Jake kept his face calm, but inside he felt afraid. He had read reports about the Draconians. They had destroyed 47 different worlds. Billions of people had died or become slaves. No one had ever beaten them in battle. We need time to consider your offer, Jake said. Zethkar laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. You have 72 hours. After that, we will burn your cities and take what we want. The screen went black. Jake turned to his crew. They all looked scared. Earth had only 8 defense ships. The aliens had 12 massive warships. The math was simple and terrible. Contact Admiral Chris Parker, Jake ordered. Tell him we need an emergency meeting. While Amy sent the message, Jake thought about his family. His wife Ellen was a teacher in New York. His daughter Katie was only 10 years old. What would happen to them if the Draconians won? Dr. Lisa Hayes worked in her research lab on Luna, Earth's moon. She had been studying the alien transmission for 3 hours. Something about the Draconian biology bothered her. Their DNA patterns looked familiar, but she couldn't figure out why Lisa pulled up files from the secret archives. Her security clearance let her see things most people never knew existed. She found records of crashed alien ships from the past 300 years. The DNA samples from those crashes made her heart race. This can't be right, she whispered to herself. On Earth, Admiral Chris Parker walked through underground tunnels, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The secret command center had been built 50 years ago. Few people knew it existed. Parker had gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his whole life preparing for this day. The meeting room filled with Earth's most important leaders. General Bob Chon commanded the ground forces. Director Mary Walsh ran the intelligence service. Dr. Kevin Price headed the weapons research program. How bad is it? General Chun asked. Parker activated the holographic display. The 12 Draconian ships appeared in the air above the table. Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a continent. They have energy shields, plasma cannons, and fighter squadrons. Our ships are toys compared to theirs. What about our secret weapons? Dr. Price asked. Not ready, Parker replied. We need at least 6 months to finish Project Midnight. Director. Walsh leaned forward. Maybe we can negotiate. Buy time. The Draconians don't negotiate, Parker said. They conquer. We've seen what they do to other species. The lucky ones die quickly. Back on Luna, Dr. Hayes made a discovery that changed everything. She compared Draconian DNA to samples from ancient human settlements. The results made her hands shake. She immediately called Admiral Parker on the emergency line. Admiral, you need to see this, she said. The Draconians. They're not what we think they are. What do you mean? Parker asked. I can't say over normal channels. This needs to be classified at the highest level. Trust me, sir. This changes everything about how we fight them. Parker frowned. Lisa Hayes was one of Earth's best scientists. If she said something was important, it was. I'll send a secure transport. Get down here as fast as you can. Meanwhile, the Draconian fleet continued its approach to Earth. On the flagship destroyer of worlds, Commander Zethkar studied reports about human military strength. The information made him laugh. Humans had weak bodies and simple weapons. They would fall in less than a day. Sir, his tactical officer Vextar said, the humans are moving their ships into defensive positions around their planet. Let them, Zethkar replied. It will make destroying them more entertaining. The Draconian commander walked to his private chamber. The walls were covered with trophies from conquered worlds. Skulls of different alien species lined the shelves. A collection of weapons from defeated enemies hung on display. ZETH single quotes KAR picked up a crystal blade from the Andorian system. Those blue-skinned people had fought bravely. They lasted 3 whole days before surrendering. The humans would probably break in 3 hours. On Earth, families watched the news reports with growing fear. The government told people to stay calm, but everyone knew the truth. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was coming to Earth. Humanity had never faced anything like this before. Children were sent home from school early. Emergency supplies disappeared from stores. Some people tried to leave the planet on civilian ships, but space traffic control stopped all departures. Earth was locked down. Captain Morrison returned to his quarters for a few hours of rest. He called his wife Ellen on the video phone. She tried to smile, but he could see the fear in her eyes. Are we going to be okay? Ellen asked. Jake wanted to lie. He wanted to tell her everything would be fine. But he had always been honest with his wife. I don't know, he said. But I promise I'll do everything I can to protect you and Katie. I love you, Ellen said. I love you too. Take care of our little girl. The next morning brought terrible news. The Draconian fleet had arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. They took positions around the planet like a cage of death. Any ship trying to leave was destroyed instantly. Earth was trapped. Jake stood on the observation deck and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, 12 massive ships waited to bring death to his world. In 60 hours, the killing would begin. But deep underground, Admiral Parker was reading Dr. Hayes' report. His face went pale as he understood what she had discovered. The Draconians weren't just another alien species. They were something much worse. They were something that would force humanity to make the darkest choice in its history. The message came at dawn. Commander Zethkar wanted to meet with Earth's leaders. He demanded that humans send representatives to his flagship within 12 hours. If they refused, he would begin destroying cities immediately. Admiral Parker called Captain Morrison to the underground command center. The 2 men looked at each other across the metal table. Both knew this could be a trap. I'll go, Morrison said. If they want to kill me, let them try. You won't go alone, Parker replied. Dr. Hayes will come with you. We need her to study them up close. Lisa Hayes packed her portable scanners and medical equipment. She had spent all night reading her research files. The DNA evidence was clear, but she needed more proof. Meeting. The Draconians face-to-face would give her that proof. The research ship Horizon launched from Earth's main spaceport. Morrison commanded the small crew of 6 people. Besides Dr. Hayes, they brought communications specialist Lieutenant Dan Foster and security chief Sergeant Carol Price. The journey to the Draconian flagship took 4 hours. Morrison watched the alien ship grow larger on his screen. The vessel was 5 miles long and covered in weapon systems. Strange lights pulsed along its hull like a heartbeat. "They're scanning us," reported Foster from his station. "Full spectrum analysis. Let them look," Morrison said. "We have nothing to hide." That wasn't completely true. Dr. Hayes had hidden her most sensitive equipment inside medical supply containers. The Draconians would expect humans to bring doctors to a diplomatic meeting. They wouldn't suspect the real purpose of her visit. The Horizon docked with the alien flagship through a small airlock. Morrison and his team walked through corridors that seemed designed to intimidate visitors. The walls were black metal covered in sharp edges. Red lights cast evil shadows everywhere. Draconian soldiers lined the hallways. Each one was 7 feet tall and covered in green scales. They wore no armor because their skin was already like metal plates. Their yellow eyes followed the humans with hungry looks. "They're studying us like we're food," Sergeant Price whispered. "Stay calm," Morrison replied. "Remember, we're here to talk." Commander Zethkar waited in a large chamber at the heart of the ship. The room was filled with trophy displays from conquered worlds. Skulls and weapons covered every surface. The air smelled like death and metal. "So these are humans," Zethkar said as the delegation entered. "You're even smaller than I expected." The Draconian commander walked around the humans like a hunter examining prey. His claws clicked on the metal floor. When he stopped in front of Morrison, the human had to look up to meet his eyes. "I am Captain Jake Morrison, representing Earth's government. I am Dr. Lisa Hayes, Chief Scientist of the Earth Defense Force." Zethkar laughed. "Scientists? You bring scientists to meet warriors? Your species is even weaker than I thought." "We came to discuss terms," Morrison said calmly. "Perhaps we can reach an agreement that benefits both our peoples." "There are no terms," Zethkar replied. "You surrender or you die. Those are your only choices." The alien commander activated a holographic display. Images of destroyed worlds filled the air. Cities turned to glass by orbital bombardment. Millions of dead bodies scattered across burned landscapes. "This is what happened to the Centauri colonies," Zethkar said with pride. 3 billion people died in one day. They thought they could resist us too. More images appeared. Different worlds, different species, all destroyed by draconian weapons. The aliens had been conquering the galaxy for thousands of years. They had never lost a single battle. "The vegans lasted 2 weeks," Zethkar continued. "They had strong ships and brave soldiers. But in the end, they all became slaves or corpses." Dr. Hayes watched the Draconian commander while he spoke. Her hidden scanners were recording everything. His DNA patterns, his bone structure, his muscle density. Every detail was being stored for analysis. What she saw made her blood run cold. The genetic markers were even clearer in person. There was no doubt now. The Draconians weren't alien at all. They were human. Modified, changed, evolved, but still human at their core. "You have 60 hours left," Zethkar said. "When time runs out, I will begin with your largest cities. New York, London, Tokyo. Billions will die in the first hour. And if we surrender?" Morrison asked. "Then only millions will die. The rest will work in our mines and factories. Your children will be raised as soldiers for our armies. Your women will bear our young. Your men will build our ships." Sergeant Price stepped forward. "What about our freedom?" Zethkar's laugh was like breaking glass. "Freedom is a lie told by the weak. There is only power and slavery. You will learn this truth soon enough." The meeting continued for 2 hours. The Draconians showed no interest in negotiation. They wanted complete surrender or total destruction. There was no middle ground with these creatures. During the talks, Dr. Hayes quietly gathered more data. She studied the other Draconian officers. In the room, All of them showed the same genetic markers. All of them were human variants. "We need time to consider your offer," Morrison said finally. "You have the time I gave you," Sethkar replied. "Not 1 second more." The human delegation was escorted back to their ship. As they walked through the corridors, Dr. Hayes noticed something else. The Draconians had no art, no music, no beauty in their culture. Everything was about war and domination. "They're not like other species," she whispered to Morrison. "There's something wrong with them. Something missing." Back on the horizon, the humans flew toward Earth in silence. Each person was lost in their own thoughts. The meeting had been worse than expected. The Draconians weren't just conquerors. They were monsters who enjoyed causing pain. "What do you think?" Morrison asked Dr. Hayes privately. "I need to analyze my data first," she replied. "But I can tell you this much. They're not normal aliens. There's something about their biology that doesn't make sense." "What do you mean?" "I can't say yet. Give me 6 hours to study the scans. Then I'll have answers." Meanwhile, on the Draconian flagship, Commander Zethkar met with his officers. They discussed the human delegation and laughed about their weakness. "The species is soft," said Tactical Officer Vextar. "They showed fear during the entire meeting." "Fear is good," Zethkar replied. "It means they understand their situation. When they surrender, they'll be easier to control." "What if they don't surrender?" asked Weapons Officer Korthaz. "Then we'll make an example of them. The other species in this galaxy need to remember what happens to those who resist the Draconian Empire." Back on Earth, Admiral Parker waited. In his office for the delegation's return, he had been receiving reports from spy satellites watching the Draconian fleet. The alien ships were moving into attack positions around the planet. Dr. Hayes arrived at the underground command center with her data files. She looked tired and worried. Parker could see that she had discovered something important. "Well?" he asked. "We need to talk privately," she said. "What I found changes everything." They went to a secure room deep underground. Hayes activated her portable computer and showed Parker the genetic analysis. The data was clear and terrifying. "The Draconians aren't aliens," she said quietly. "They're human. Modified human beings who left Earth thousands of years ago." Parker stared at the screen. "That's impossible. The DNA doesn't lie. They have the same basic genetic structure as us. But someone changed them, enhanced their strength, altered their appearance, modified their brains." "Modified their brains? How?" "They've had most of their emotions removed. No empathy, no compassion, no guilt. They're basically human psychopaths with enhanced bodies." Parker sat down heavily in his chair. "Our own species. We're being invaded." "By our own species? It gets worse," Hayes continued. "I found evidence that they've been modified to be dependent on violence. They literally need to fight and conquer to survive. It's built into their biology now. So they can't be reasoned with? No. They're like rabid dogs. All they know is attack and destroy. Someone turned them into the perfect killing machines." Parker was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Does anyone else know about this?" "Just us. The question is, what do we do with this information?" "I don't know." "How do you fight your own children? How do you kill your own species?" Outside, the countdown continued. 54 hours remained until the Draconian ultimatum expired. Earth's leaders had to make a choice. But now they knew the truth. The enemy wasn't alien at all. The enemy was human. Dr. Hayes stood before the Emergency Council in the deepest part of the mountain base. The room held Earth's most powerful leaders. President Maria Santos, General Bob Chun, Director Mary Walsh, and Admiral Parker all waited to hear her report. "What I'm about to tell you will change how we see this war," Hayes began. She activated the holographic display. DNA sequences filled the air above the table. The Draconians are not alien. They are human. The silence in the room was complete. President Santos was the first to speak. That's impossible. They look nothing. Like us, the basic genetic code is identical, Hayes explained. Someone modified them long ago. Changed their appearance, enhanced their strength, altered their minds. But underneath all those changes, they're still human. General Chun leaned forward. How is this possible? When did this happen? Admiral Parker stood up. I can answer that. He walked to a secure terminal and entered a series of codes. What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest level. Only 5 people on Earth knew about this before today. The holographic display changed. Ancient documents and photographs appeared in the air. They showed a massive spaceship launching from Earth during an ice age thousands of years ago. This is Project Exodus, Parker said. During the last ice age, Earth was dying. A group of scientists and genetic engineers built this colony ship. They took with them the most advanced technology of their time. More images appeared. The ship contained laboratories, genetic modification equipment, and thousands of frozen human embryos. The mission was to find a new world and create a better version of humanity. They called themselves the Ascension Project, Parker continued. Their goal was to improve the human species, make us stronger, smarter, more perfect. Where did they go? President Santos asked. We don't know exactly. They disappeared into deep space. We lost contact with them after they left the solar system. Doctor. Hayes pulled up her genetic analysis. Based on the Draconian DNA, I can tell you what happened. The colonists found a harsh world. They modified themselves to survive, but something went wrong. The genetic data showed the modifications step by step. Stronger bones, armored skin, enhanced muscles. But also changes to the brain. Areas responsible for empathy and compassion had been removed or altered. They turned themselves into killers, Hayes said sadly. Perfect warriors with no conscience. No ability to feel guilt or mercy. Director Walsh spoke up. We've been tracking the Draconian Empire for 100 years. They've conquered 47 star systems, killed billions of people. Our own species, General Chun said quietly, were being attacked by our own children. Admiral Parker activated another display. This one showed secret files about Earth's preparation for this day. We've known about the Draconians for decades. We've been preparing for their return. The files revealed a massive underground research project. Scientists had been developing weapons designed specifically to fight enhanced humans. Biological weapons that targeted genetic markers unique to Earth-born humanity. Project Midnight, Parker said. We've been working on it for 30 years. A virus that attacks the genetic modifications the colonists made to themselves. A virus. That does what? President Santos asked. It reverses the genetic changes, forces them back into normal human form, restores their original DNA structure. Dr. Hayes looked horrified. That would be agony. Imagine your entire body changing back after thousands of years of evolution. It would drive them insane. It gets worse, Parker admitted. The virus also restores their human emotions. All the empathy and guilt they lost would come flooding back. They would remember every terrible thing they've done. The room fell silent again. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth's secret weapon wasn't just a military tool. It was psychological torture designed to destroy the enemy's mind and body. Is it ready? General Chun asked. The weapon exists. Parker said, but we need a way to deliver it to their fleet. The virus only works if we can get it into their ship's air systems. Captain Morrison entered the room. He had been listening to the briefing through the security system. I can get it onto their flagship. They trust me enough to allow another diplomatic meeting. That's suicide, President Santos said. They'll kill you the moment they detect the virus. Maybe, but it's our only chance. If we don't try, they'll destroy Earth in 48 hours. Dr. Hayes pulled up more data about the Draconian psychology. There's something else you need to know. The genetic modifications make them dependent on violence. They literally cannot stop fighting. It's built into their biology, no. So even if we restore their humanity, they might not survive the change? Director Walsh asked. Most of them will probably die from the shock. Their bodies and minds can't handle the transition. We're essentially condemning them to death. Admiral Parker looked at each person in the room. We have a choice. We can surrender and become slaves. We can fight conventionally and lose. Or we can use the virus and commit genocide against our own species. President Santos stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the underground city that housed Earth's government during emergencies. Thousands of people lived here, all preparing for the end of the world. How many people know about the Draconian origins? She asked. 7 people total, Parker replied. Everyone in this room plus Captain Morrison. And if we use the virus? How many Draconians will die? All of them, the entire fleet. Maybe 1 million soldiers total. Our own people. Modified, changed, turned into monsters, but still our people. Dr. Hayes spoke softly. There's no cure for what was done to them. The modifications are too extensive. They can't live as normal humans anymore, and they can't stop being killers. What about their empire? The other conquered worlds? Without the Draconian military, those worlds would be free. The slave populations could rebuild their civilizations. General, Chan looked at the tactical displays. The Draconian fleet is moving into final attack position. We have 36 hours before they start bombing cities. Captain Morrison stepped forward. I volunteer to deliver the virus. Give me a small team, and we'll plant it on their flagship. You understand what you're volunteering for? President. Santos asked, You're offering to murder our own species. I'm offering to save Earth. The Draconians stopped being human the day they chose to become killers. We didn't make that choice for them. Admiral Parker activated the secure communication system. I need to contact Colonel Ben Taylor. He's the only person authorized to access Project Midnight. 20 minutes later, Colonel Taylor arrived with a metal briefcase. Inside was a small device no bigger than a coin. It contained enough virus to infect an entire fleet. The delivery system is simple, Taylor explained. Plant it near any air recycling unit. The virus will spread through the ship's atmosphere in 4 hours. Effects begin immediately. What exactly will happen to them? Dr. Hayes asked. First, their enhanced strength will fade. Then their armored skin will soften. Their bone structure will change back to normal human proportions. Finally, their brain chemistry will revert to baseline human emotional range. And then they'll remember everything they've done, every person they've killed, every world they've destroyed. They'll experience full human guilt and horror for the first time in thousands of years. President Santos made the hardest decision of her life. We'll proceed with the mission. Captain Morrison, select your team. You launch in 6 hours. As the meeting ended, Dr. Hayes pulled Admiral Parker aside. Are we doing the right thing? I don't know. But I know what happens if we do nothing. Earth dies. Humanity becomes extinct or enslaved. At least this way, we survive. At the cost of our souls. Maybe, but someone has to make the hard choices. Someone has to carry this burden. Captain Morrison prepared for his mission. He selected 3 volunteers, Lieutenant Foster, Sergeant Price, and Dr. Hayes herself. She insisted on coming to document the virus effects for future study. The team studied the Draconian ship layouts and planned their infiltration route. They would pose as bringing medical supplies for injured humans from the first diplomatic meeting. The virus device would be hidden inside a medical scanner. Time was running out. In 30 hours, the Draconian bombardment would begin. Earth's cities would burn, and millions would die. Unless 4 humans could sneak aboard an alien warship and unleash a weapon that would destroy their own lost children. The moral weight of the decision pressed down on everyone involved. They were about to commit an act that would save Earth. But damn their souls. They were about to prove that humans could be just as monstrous as the enemies they fought. But they were also about to show that humans would do anything to protect their home and their people, even if it meant becoming the very thing they feared most. Captain Morrison's team prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. They loaded their equipment onto the research ship Horizon. The virus device was hidden inside a medical scanner that looked completely normal. No one would suspect. It contained a weapon that could destroy an entire fleet. Dr. Hayes checked her equipment one final time. She had packed additional scanners to record what happened when the virus activated. The scientific data would be important for future research, assuming humanity survived to study it. "Are you sure about this?" Lieutenant Foster asked. "Once we plant that device, there's no going back." "There's already no going back," Morrison replied. "The Draconians made their choice thousands of years ago. Now we have to make ours." The team launched toward the Draconian flagship. During the flight, they received a priority message from Admiral Parker. The alien fleet had begun moving closer to Earth. They were preparing for bombardment. "How much time do we have?" Sergeant Price asked. 18 hours, Morrison answered. "If we don't succeed, they start destroying cities at dawn." On the Draconian flagship, Commander Zethkar was in his command center. He studied tactical displays showing Earth's defense positions. The human ships were pathetically weak compared to his warships. "Sir," reported Tactical Officer Vextar, a human diplomatic. "Vessel is approaching. They request another meeting." Zethkar laughed. "They want to beg for mercy. Let them come. I enjoy watching inferior species grovel." The Horizon docked with the alien ship. Morrison led his team through the dark corridors. Draconian soldiers watched them with hungry eyes. The aliens seemed excited about the coming battle. "Remember," Morrison whispered to his team, "we're here to discuss medical aid for prisoners. Stay calm and follow my lead." They were brought to the same chamber where the first meeting had taken place. Commander Zethkar waited with several of his officers. Trophies from conquered worlds surrounded them like grim decorations. "So the humans return," Zethkar said. "Have you come to surrender?" "We've come to discuss terms for treating wounded prisoners," Morrison replied. "We want to establish medical protocols before the fighting begins." "Medical protocols?" Zethkar seemed amused. "You assume there will be prisoners?" "They're always wounded in war. We believe in treating them humanely." The Draconian commander's laugh was like breaking glass. "Humanity is a disease. You spread weakness and compassion across the galaxy. We will cure the universe of your infection." Dr. Hayes stepped forward with her medical scanner. "We brought equipment to demonstrate our medical capabilities. Perhaps we could examine some of your wounded soldiers?" "We have no wounded soldiers," Zethkar replied. "Weak Draconians do not survive to adulthood. Only the strong live to serve the Empire." While they talked, Hayes quietly activated her scanner. Near an air recycling unit, the virus device attached itself to the ventilation system with a magnetic clamp. It would begin releasing the virus in 2 hours. "Your compassion is disgusting," Zethkar continued. "When we conquer Earth, we will breed it out of your species. Your children will become proper warriors. What about our culture, our art, and Music? Morrison asked. Weakness, all of it. We will burn your books and destroy your museums. Only strength matters. Only power has value. The meeting continued for another hour. Morrison asked questions about prisoner treatment while his team planted additional monitoring devices. They needed to record what happened when the virus activated. Finally, Zethkar grew bored with the discussion. Enough talk. You have 12 hours to surrender. After that, we begin the cleansing. Cleansing? Dr. Hayes asked. We will kill every human on Earth. Then we will resettle the planet with proper colonists. Your species will be extinct, and the galaxy will be better for it. The human delegation was escorted back to their ship. As they walked through the corridors, Morrison noticed something troubling. Draconian soldiers were preparing weapons and armor. They looked excited about the coming massacre. They're not just conquerors, he whispered to Hayes. They enjoy killing. It's like a drug to them. The genetic modifications made them that way, she replied. They literally cannot feel happiness unless they're causing pain. Back on the horizon, the team flew toward Earth. The virus device was now active, slowly releasing its payload into the Draconian ship's atmosphere. In 4 hours, every alien on that vessel would begin changing. What happens now? Foster asked. Now we wait, Morrison replied, and we pray that we're doing the right thing. On Earth, Admiral Parker monitored the situation from his command center. Spy satellites tracked the Draconian fleet movements. The alien ships were taking final positions for orbital bombardment. Sir, reported Communications Officer Lieutenant Sam Wright, we're receiving surrender messages from civilian populations. People are panicking. Tell them to stay calm, Parker ordered. We're working on a solution. That wasn't entirely true. The virus was their only hope, and they wouldn't know if it worked until it was too late to try anything else. Parker had gambled Earth's entire future on a biological weapon that might not even work. Hours passed slowly. The virus spread through the Draconian flagship's air systems. It began affecting the aliens, but the changes were subtle at first. Enhanced strength faded gradually. Armored skin started to soften. Commander Zethkar was the first to notice something wrong. He felt weaker than usual. His vision seemed less sharp. When he tried to crush a metal cup with his bare hands, it barely dented. Medical officer to the bridge, he commanded. The ship's doctor, a Draconian named Krelver, examined his commander. Your vital signs are changing, sir. Your muscle density is decreasing. Your bone structure is shifting. What's causing this? I don't know. It's like your body is reverting to some earlier evolutionary state. Across the ship, other Draconians were experiencing similar changes. Their enhanced abilities were fading away. Panic spread through the crew as they realized something terrible was happening. Sir, reported Tactical Officer Vextar, I'm receiving similar reports from other ships in the fleet. Our soldiers are getting weaker. Zethkar's eyes widened with understanding. The humans, they did this to us. They poisoned our air. But it was too late to stop the process. The virus had spread too far. Every Draconian in the fleet was infected. The changes were accelerating. On Earth, Dr. Hayes monitored the situation through her hidden sensors. Biological readings from the Draconian fleet showed the virus was working perfectly. Too perfectly. The genetic reversion is happening faster than we predicted, she reported to Admiral Parker. Their bodies are changing back to baseline human in hours instead of days. Is that good or bad? Bad. The rapid change is putting enormous stress on their nervous systems. Many of them won't survive the transition. Parker felt a cold weight in his stomach. How many will die? Maybe 60%. The other 40% will be so traumatized they'll barely be functional. Commander Zethkar stumbled through his ship's corridors. His green scales were falling off, revealing pale human skin underneath. His enhanced height was decreasing as his bones reformed. Most disturbing of all, strange new emotions were flooding his mind. For the first time in his life, he felt guilt. Memories of his conquests filled his thoughts, but now they seemed horrifying, instead of glorious. The faces of his victims haunted him. Children he had killed, families he had destroyed, worlds he had burned. What have I done? He whispered to himself. Other Draconians were experiencing similar psychological trauma. Their enhanced bodies had been matched with suppressed emotions. Now those emotions were returning all at once, combined with centuries of terrible memories. Some aliens collapsed from the mental shock. Others began screaming and couldn't stop. A few tried to end their own lives rather than face the horror of what they had become. "Sir," Vextar reported, 60% of our crew is incapacitated. Our weapon systems are failing. We're defenseless. Zethkar looked at his tactical officer. Vextar was changing too. His armored features were becoming more human with each passing minute. Tears ran down his face as he remembered the innocent people he had killed. "Signal the human planet," Zethkar ordered. Tell them tell them we surrender." "Sir, we surrender. We cannot fight anymore. We remember we remember everything." The message reached Earth 12 hours before the bombardment was scheduled to begin. Admiral Parker couldn't believe what he was hearing. The mighty Draconian Empire was surrendering without a single shot being fired. "Patch me through to their commander," Parker ordered. The image that appeared on screen shocked everyone in the command center. Zethkar barely looked like the same creature who had threatened Earth days before. His scales were gone, revealing human skin. His enhanced height had decreased. Most disturbing of all, his yellow eyes were now brown and filled with tears. "Admiral Parker," Zethkar said, his voice breaking. We remember who we were. We remember what we've done. The killing, the slavery, the genocide. How could we have done such terrible things?" Parker felt no joy in their victory. Looking at the broken creature on screen, he felt only sadness. You were modified to be killers. Your emotions were suppressed. You weren't responsible for your actions. "But we were responsible," Zethkar replied. "Somewhere deep inside, we chose to become monsters. We could have fought against the programming, but we didn't." 3 days after the surrender, Captain Morrison stood in the medical bay of the Draconian flagship. The scene around him was heartbreaking. Former warriors lay in beds, their bodies still changing as the virus completed its work. Some cried constantly. Others stared at nothing, lost in memories of their crimes. Dr. Hayes worked among the patients, trying to help where she could. But her medical training had not prepared her for this kind of suffering. How do you treat someone whose body and mind have been completely rewritten in a matter of hours? "The genetic reversion is 90% complete," she reported to Morrison. "But the psychological damage is worse than we expected. They remember everything they did, but now they feel it with full human emotions." In the bed nearest to them, a former Draconian soldier named Korthaz whispered the same words over and over. "I killed them all. The children on Vega 7. I killed them all." Morrison knelt beside the bed. Korthaz looked completely human now, except for his eyes. They held a pain so deep it seemed bottomless. "You weren't in control of your actions," Morrison said gently. "The modifications made you do those things." "But I enjoyed it," Korthaz replied. "I can remember enjoying their screams." "What kind of monster was I? What kind of monster am I?" There was no good answer to that question. Morrison stood up and walked away, leaving Dr. Hayes to continue her work. She injected Korthaz with sedatives, but even unconscious, he continued to mumble about his victims. Commander Zethkar had locked himself in his quarters. He refused to see anyone or eat anything. When Morrison finally forced his way inside, he found the former Draconian leader sitting on the floor, holding a weapon to his head. "Don't do it," Morrison said calmly. "Why not?" Zethkar asked. "I've killed billions of people. I've destroyed entire civilizations. I turned children into slaves. Death is too good for me. Because dying won't bring back your victims. Living with the guilt might serve them better." Zethkar laughed bitterly. "Live with this? Every time I close my eyes, I see their faces. Every breath I take feels like a crime against their memory." Morrison sat down across from him. "The humans who created this virus are feeling guilt, too. We're all monsters now. The only difference is that we remember choosing to become monsters. You saved the galaxy from us. We saved ourselves. That's different." Back on Earth, the secret of what really happened to the Draconian fleet was being buried. Official reports claimed that a computer virus had disabled their ships. Only 7 people knew the truth about the biological weapon that had destroyed an entire species. Will to fight. Admiral Parker met with President Santos in the secure bunker. "What do we do with them?" he asked. "We have 1 million former Draconians who can barely function. We help them," Santos replied. "It's the least we can do." "Help them? They're war criminals. They've committed genocide. They're also human beings who are turned into weapons against their will. We have a responsibility to them now." The decision was made to relocate the surviving Draconians to an isolated planet where they could live without being reminded of their past crimes. It was a form of exile, but also mercy. They could not return to their conquered worlds without facing the survivors of their victims. Dr. Hayes published a carefully edited report about the incident. She described the genetic modifications that had turned humans into killers, but she left out details about the virus weapon. Some secrets were too dangerous to share. "The Draconian case shows us how easily humanity can lose its way," she wrote. "Given the right circumstances, any of us could become monsters. We must guard against the temptation to enhance ourselves at the cost of our souls." The report became required reading at military academies across Earth. Future soldiers needed to understand the price of becoming too focused on winning at any cost. Captain Morrison returned to his family, but he was not the same man who had left Earth a week earlier. His wife Ellen noticed the change immediately. He slept poorly and often stared into space with haunted eyes. "What happened up there?" she asked one evening. "We won," Morrison replied, "but we lost something important. In the process, what did we lose? Our innocence. Our belief that we were the good people in the galaxy. The truth was that Earth's victory had revealed something dark about human nature. When pushed to the edge, humans were capable of creating weapons that attacked the very core of what made someone human. They could win wars by destroying their enemies' souls. News of the Draconian Empire's collapse spread across the galaxy. 47 conquered worlds suddenly found themselves free. But instead of celebrating Earth's victory, other species began to fear humanity. What kind of people could make an entire empire surrender without firing a shot? Alien ambassadors started asking uncomfortable questions. How had Earth defeated such a powerful enemy so quickly? What weapons had they used? The official answers about computer viruses satisfied no one. Colonel Taylor received reports from intelligence services throughout the galaxy. "They're scared of us now," he told Admiral Parker. "They don't know what we did, but they know it was something terrible." "Good," Parker replied. "Fear will keep them from attacking us. It will also keep them from trusting us. We may have won this war, but we've lost any chance of being accepted as peaceful members of the galactic community." The isolation didn't bother most humans. They were alive, and their planet was safe. The cost in moral authority seemed worth paying for survival. But some people couldn't forget what they had done. Dr. Hayes continued to study the effects of forced genetic reversion. Her research showed that most survivors would never fully recover from the trauma. "We didn't just defeat them," she wrote in her private journal. "We broke them completely. We turned proud warriors into sobbing children. We forced them to remember being human while making them hate themselves for what they had become." Avera's samples remained locked away in the deepest vaults on Earth. The technology to create more existed, but hopefully it would never be used again. Some weapons were too terrible to deploy, even against the worst enemies. Years passed. The Draconian survivors learned to live with their guilt and grief. Some found peace through helping others. A few managed to build new lives focused on atonement. But most remained broken, living reminders of what happened when humanity lost its way. Commander Seth Carr, now calling himself by his original human name David, worked as a counselor for trauma victims. He helped people deal with their pain by sharing his own experiences. It was a small way to balance the scales for his crimes. "I cannot undo what I did," he would tell his patients, "but I can try to prevent others from walking the same dark path." Earth prospered in the aftermath of the war. With the Draconian Empire gone, humans expanded into space without fear. They built colonies and trading posts throughout the galaxy. But they were always alone, never fully trusted by other species. The secret of their victory became the foundation of their power. No one wanted to risk discovering what terrible weapons humans might use if threatened. The galaxy gave Earth respect. Born of fear rather than admiration, Captain Morrison, now an admiral, often wondered if they had made the right choice. They had saved their world and freed billions of slaves. But they had also proven that humans could be just as monstrous as any enemy they faced. "We showed the galaxy what we're capable of when cornered," he told his officers during a training exercise. "We revealed that we can win by destroying our enemies from the inside out. That knowledge will protect us, but it will also mark us as dangerous." The Draconian fleet had vanished from the galaxy, but the dark secret of how they disappeared would haunt humanity forever. They had won the war by weaponizing identity itself, turning their enemies back into humans just to watch them suffer. It was a victory that tasted like defeat, a triumph that felt like damnation. Earth was safe, but at the cost of its soul. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. And deep in the vaults beneath the Rocky Mountains, the virus samples waited in their sealed containers. A reminder of what humans could do when they chose to become monsters themselves. A weapon too terrible to use, but too dangerous to destroy. The Draconian fleet was gone, but the darkness they had awakened in humanity would remain forever.